Address the council, please come up and sign up. You have about 39 seconds. It's 6 p.m. on Tuesday, February the 6th, and I hereby call this regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council to order. Could you please bow your heads for invocation by Councilwoman Lisi?
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that affect the citizens of Diamond Head, and we ask your blessing upon all here tonight and upon all of our residents, especially those who are suffering. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor DeBrio,
Here.
Councilmember Finley,
Here.
Councilmember Lisi,
Here.
Councilmember Cumberland,
Here.
Councilmember Moore.
Here.
Could I get a motion to confirm or adjust the agenda?
Motion to confirm.
Motion made by Councilwoman Lisi. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor?
Aye.
The next regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council will be held February 20th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in Council Chambers located at 5000 Diamond Head Circle. City Hall will be closed Tuesday, February the 13th, 2024 for Mardi Gras, and it also will be closed on Monday, January the 19th, 2024 in observance of President's Day. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just some updates on our current projects that we have. The Park 10 Road, that contract is still scheduled to end on June the 1st. The road bed has been formed. If any of you have been out there to see kind of how it looks, they're expecting to have get rock out there within the next few weeks. Just looking for some dry weather. The electrical conduit is going to start being installed, coming from Noma Circle going up towards Park 10. And curb and gutter installation is to begin by the end of this month. So that project's moving along, and we should be seeing an actual road here very soon. The Noma Drive restoration, the final lift of asphalt was installed. If any of you drove on it getting in here, you would have noticed that. The contractor is making the connection to the multimodal path once the area is prepared. Unfortunately, with this rain, that area is just too wet right now. So they're trying to get it dried out and ready for the first portion of that multimodal path going across Noma Drive there. The rest of the connection, hopefully, they did. I didn't get out there this afternoon to look to see if they made that final connection here into the City Hall parking lot. That contract's for 195 calendar days and is now scheduled to end on March 24th, and they should be able to do that. The Bowview 2 project has been awarded to Fairtide Marina. Currently waiting on contract bonds and paperwork back from them. The bond paving project is 150 calendar days and is scheduled to end by March the 6th. The striping subcontractor was back on site last week getting a lot of the striping done, and I believe the only thing they have left is the markings in the bike path and the multimodal path. And they're just waiting for nice dry and warm weather so that they can put those down. They were actually, I wouldn't call them stickers, but more or less just a whole image. And so if it's too cold, those are brittle and they'll break, and then they're trying to piece together those symbols. So, but they should be able to get that done here in the next few weeks. And the contractor came back on site and did all the patchwork that needed on around the water tower, the one over on Diamond Drive East, and then on the extension of Golf Club Drive. So that's got a cure, and then the striping company will get back out here and stripe all of that as well. The Montjoy Creek, the DMR sent out notices for public comment, so for all the residents that live along that area. That notice period ends on February the 19th, and so once we get that, we'll be able to move forward. Noma Drive Phase 1, the bids are due on the 14th of this month for that project, and that is to build the parking lot, rebuild the boat ramp, and the kayak launch and pier, as well as the installing of the conference station. So we'll get those open and hopefully have something maybe on the next agenda or 1st of March. Kaliki Way and Bayou Drive, both those projects are out for bid and are due this Thursday. So hopefully we can get those open and get some good pricing on both of those projects. The canal dredging, the city's got our permit from the Corps of Engineers, and we're currently waiting for review from the Restore Council to get approval on that. The engineers submitted the plans to the Restore Council, I want to say Thursday or Friday of last week. So hopefully they can review those and get back to us. Diamond Head Lakes Road, Elliott Holmes Engineers in Covington have agreed upon the design. And a pre-construction meeting is scheduled for tomorrow. And then they'll start the work on that project, and I'll get dates on that once that meeting happens. Jex Drive Lighting, currently engineers are working on those plans, and hopefully we'll have something here in the next couple of weeks. The Noma Drive Boardwalk, we're still working with a landowner to acquire the easements and waiting on the Restore Council as well to approve funding on that and get us a grant agreement back. And then, of course, last two things, this Saturday is our Mardi Gras parade, and so we hope everyone will come out and enjoy that parade. And for the month of February is our March for the Mayors, and it's a food drive, so we have several stations around, Rouse's Fire Department, the library here as well, and for you to drop off food donations. We're looking for the city of Diamond Head, it is soup. So if you can bring canned soup and drop it off at any of those locations, we'd appreciate that, and that'll help to feed the homeless and hungry along the coast.
All right, thank you very much. I have a few questions. On the agenda, we've got several commitments of funding, and I know the budget was tight, so I just want to see the $84,919.92 East Aloha that we're obligating. Where is that coming from?
That is already there.
Okay, the $10,000 for the Lily Pond.
Same thing. That's a reauthorization for the federal.
So we already had that committed?
That's
All right. And the $5,000 for the wildlife management?
That is something that we.
That's
keep
just
in
a
the
budget, yeah.
It's if we need it or not, that is if we get the the calls for the feral hogs, we have to have a contract in place. I don't think last year we used but like $1,100 of it, but this is to cover us for the whole year, and yes, we do allocate so much in the budget for that service.
Okay. And on this, I noticed this time, which I hadn't noticed before, was the geese.
It came on the contract this year. I don't know if last time it was, I don't remember it being on there last time.
It
but I
wasn't
think
on
now-
there.
But it is on there if we need them. It's
So
on-
we have no intention, because I like the geese,
No,
so,
it's only if we get a report. We call them and say, we're having an issue here, they set traps or whatever. Like we had them last year come over here, they were in, the Oaks, so they had to set the traps across the street. So it just depends on when we call them. This is just as if needed, as and if needed.
so they mandate the geese wording be on there? Can we remove that? I mean, the hogs we know are a serious issue.
I mean, we can, but if we ever need anything with geese, we would have to go back and reapprove a contract. I mean, I don't know, I'd have to go back and look, I don't remember it being on there.
I don't either. I never remember seeing the geese.
Huh?
I mean, I prefer the geese wording not be on there, because the geese have been part of Diamond Head since the beginning. The geese have been here. They are sometimes a nuisance, but the geese have been here, and we are a bird sanctuary, so I'd prefer not to have the geese in the wording. The other thing is the zoning comments. So when the residents go on there to comment, it's like a Word file with the commenting, so everybody sees your comments.
That is correct, yes. It's a Dropbox, and everyone else would see the comments that are to
Any
the
that
side.
you put on there.
Correct.
And the zoning map, I know I had asked Pat Rich about the zoning map, because in order to go through the zoning, so if we're looking at the zoning and there's design data for the zoning, so we look at a specific zoning area and it'll say, well, that needs a 50-foot buffer, that needs a 25-foot buffer. Depending upon the zoning and where it's located, I think the residents will look at the zoning data criteria and they will want to know, well, if it's located here by these residential areas, then I'd prefer this. Or it's hard to comment without a map. It's almost impossible. Can we get an overall map? The only one on there is just the Aloha District.
There's, John, I would just say, we're waiting on Orion and Bob Barber to give us a proposed new zoning map. So the way that we're doing it right now is we're putting the new zoning ordinance itself in place. Then we're going to be deciding, okay, where are we going to change the zoning? So right now, no zoning in the city has changed. We do have this Aloha District that we've created, but as we've kind of talked about it, we had this discussion at P&Z. There's nowhere that place has been put into play yet on the map. And that is the next stage or the next phase of what we're doing. We're also talking about, one of the things we talked about with Orion is having some of those buffer zones that were, if you look at the comprehensive plan and the future zoning use map, that's where you see we have some Aloha districts and all that. That's just a future plan. That is not the map. The current map that exists for zoning is our current zoning map. It is not changed. There is no final draft or draft right now from Orion that says, here's what we propose the zoning change to. So the way we've kind of bit this off is we're going to do the zoning, we're going to put that into play, we're going to reorganize the whole code so that it's more user-friendly. It's based on form rather than function to get, as you know, Bob Barber did a great job at P&Z, and I know there were some people here. We had a bigger crowd than normal. We want the comments on that right now. We want to get the zoning ordinance itself correct, and we're taking that input from the residents about those buffer zones, about where maybe we don't want this new Aloha District, maybe where we do want it, talking with landowners, talking with developers, talking with residents. That's going to come at the next stage. So there is no map yet. The only map that exists is what was passed as part of the comprehensive plan, which is not in place. It's just a suggestion.
It's not in place.
It's
It
a
hasn't-
suggestion.
It is a suggestion. Well, can we get an overall suggestive map? Because it's very difficult looking at the design data for the districts, not having it located on a map. So it's virtually impossible.
And I disagree. I don't think it's impossible to make comments on what the zoning districts are, how they're going to work, but because we're going to have that debate as to where we want those. And that's going to be the next part of the debate when we do address the map. And that's going to take, look, we purposely backed off, and Pat, spoke to this very well at the P&Z meeting. We purposely backed off of this process, even though it's been years in the making, to give, we have a lot of residents that are new. We have a lot of council members, planning and zoning commissioners that are new. We purposely backed off of this, and almost, it's kind of, we're jumping off again to just make sure everybody has time to comment, and so we're looking at getting that done first. And again, we just don't have a proposed map yet. And I can talk with Bob and see what he's got in mind, but he's been taking, look, if the original thoughts that he had were out there, it would probably, folks would burn City Hall down, probably. It's really, we're looking at it, and we're
Yes,
taking
and a
comments
lot
at this
of-
point.
He went through very clearly how he got where he is using the data from the residents and the envision.
Sure.
So he was very clear at the P&Z. So I know that he knows with the districts, because this is something I grew up doing. He knows where the districts are going to be. He knows where he thinks they are, and that's how he wrote the design data. The residents need to know where the districts might be in a proposed map so that they can look at the design data and say, well, I wouldn't like that here,
And-
or Or else, when we get the map and it's proposed, we're gonna be back to, well, we need to revise the zoning ordinance because we don't like this there.
I can guarantee, and I didn't mean to interrupt, but I can guarantee you this first version that is ever adopted of the zoning ordinance is going to be amended. There's no perfect zoning ordinance. This thing is hundreds of pages. There's going to be some further tweaking of it, but this
Yeah,
is the
this-
best process that we've kind of come up with. And, again, I'll talk with Bob. I mean, he's looking at it, he's working on it, he's getting input from everybody. But,
That's my input. I'd like to see a map, a proposed map. So
Well,
if
that-
you mind
that-
asking him
We
for
only
that.
have the one proposed map that's on there already.
Which
There
is
is nothing else.
just, that's what I'm saying. So if we could get him to make the overall, like
Overall
where.
of what?
of
Of the
this-
rest
of-
of the city? We're not changing any zoning in the rest of the
Okay,
city.
the names are different now. They're R5, is that R1?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, where does he think that is? The names are completely different now, John, than they were.
I
So
understand
we
what you're
need to
saying.
be able to say, R5 is here, and, Aloha Multi-Use District is here. You can't, I personally can't look at the design data and comment not knowing where we're thinking it may be located. And that's me personally, maybe I'm
Right. But those are all just
overthinking it.
name changes. Nothing actually is changing in those zones.
Okay, well, can you write what R1 is now? What is that called? Because there is no R1.
I'm sure.
There's
I'm
no
sure we can get
R2. We need to know where these correlate. It's difficult to review it with that. And I think that's all I had.
I have a few things. In the last week, 10 days, we've had so much rain that the soil is saturated. And I'm just wondering, have you had issues from people calling in about their roads by their house or anything like that, flooding and backing up with all this rain we've had?
I've had no reports of anybody having backing up or anything like that. The normal, this is not draining right, or like the one you sent in where you said it was the water was standing in the ditch, and we're trying to address those. Public Works is addressing each and every one of those.
Okay, then my second follow-up to that is, when I first got on this board, which is back in 2021, we had, I want to say, somewhere around $4.5 million of grant money for drainage. And can you tell me, as of like the end of 2023, how much of that we've actually received and worked with?
We received $2 million, I think is what it was, from ARPA, just shy of that, as well as the county has earmarked $2 million for us, and we will receive that as we spend that money. So it's a reimbursable on that. But we do have the $2 million in the bank, and that's what the projects on the city manager report that's where that's going to come from.
Well, it seems like in 2023, we had a lot of projects that dealt with drainage. Do you know what kind of spending we did in 2023 on just drainage and stormwater?
Not off the top of my head, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, we have started some, and then that's what these the Kaliki Way project, the Bayou Drive project, Turnberry, all those others are coming along, and will be coming to you guys in the next month or so to review and approve as well.
Councilman Finley? Councilwoman Lisi?
Thank you. John, you and I talked about this briefly a couple weeks ago, but I just wanted to bring it up again. The edge of the duck pond is eroding, and could we look into how much it might cost and what would be involved in doing some kind of vegetative, planting to help,
Understand.
the integrity of that soil so it doesn't continue to?
Yes, well, currently, we still don't own that pond, so that's still the POA's property. We are getting a survey completed, hopefully, by our city engineers.
Okay.
And then once we get that survey done, we can record it, or create a deed, and then try to get that conveyed over to us from the POA, as they were gracious enough to provide that to us. Once we do, then we can look into those types of things of some sort of vegetation or even some riprap to help shore up those soil, those sides.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Councilman Cumberland?
Yes. Derek, with, we're short one person, one council member. So we need 3 for a forum, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
So with voting, how many votes do we have to pass?
3.
3.
And
Okay.
that's just for another, Jeannie, remind me, 2 weeks? So this meeting and the next meeting, and then hopefully we'll have a new council member.
All right. All right, so with planning and zoning, we have 7 planning and zoning commissioners.
That is correct.
And how many do we need to pass in planning and zoning?
You need a majority of those that are present, so you need a quorum to be there, so you need 4 to be there, and you would need 4 out of 4 of those to vote, so you need 4. So, and I may be anticipating what you're talking about, but there was a vote at the last Planning and Zoning Commission where it was a 3-3 vote. The motion was to deny the application. I believe that's correct. Is that right, Pat? And so the motion that was made was to deny the request for a variance. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 3-3. So it did not pass. The denial did not pass, but
Ah.
obviously there was no recommendation to approve either. So that comes to this council without a clear recommendation from Planning and Zoning. But again, they're just a recommending body anyway. So you guys it still comes to you for a decision on whether to approve the variance or not.
So nothing has ever been denied in a planning and zoning commission and then not come before city council?
It depends on what it is. If it's a variance, again, they just recommend. So their recommendation could be to deny to you, but again, you all decide. They're a recommending body. They take in the evidence, they take the recommendation from the officials in the planning and zoning department. They present all of that, any letters, any other evidence, they hear the testimony, hear from residents, and they make that recommendation to y'all. So there have been times when they've recommended, no, we don't recommend this variance, and there's times when they've recommended, so we've run the gamut. We've run the gamut of they've recommended and you guys have denied. They've not recommended, you all have approved. They've not recommended because of a tie, and you guys have decided how to handle that. So that's kind of how that works.
Yep, that's all I had.
All right. We're going to move on to public comments, and I'm just going to assume everything's an agenda item. So we're going to start with Mr. Bill Parrish.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I appreciate the fact that you recognize that this contract, item 2024-28, would allow the Department of Agriculture to destroy the geese. As it says in there, disposal of the carcass. And that means they could destroy the geese. And I appreciate the fact you recognize that, and I assume that there is going to be amended, that item. Is that correct? Okay, good. So it's, the geese won't be destroyed since we're a bird sanctuary. It could look kind of bad. Thank
All
you
right.
much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we have Mr. Henry.
Mayor, City Council, legal team, city manager, and employees, I appreciate you letting me up here to speak again. I used to own a safety truck. I taught safety, so I know a little bit about safety. Y'all have created a hazard with these stripes until they're satisfied. I've got told 100 people, somebody's gonna get injured at golf club and down the hill. It happened. 2 pickups hit up. Who's it for? The guy behind the stop sign? Guy didn't give a signal? No. They're good for them. You created a hazard. I've asked to have signs put up, especially on golf club drive, where the golf cart crossing. Golf cart crossing, slow golf cart crossing, vehicles don't stop. We can't afford that. But we spend billions of dollars on stuff that's unnecessary. Did they fix the drainage out over the cars where they were building the houses? Has it been fixed? Did they get the drainage fixed? Anybody want to answer? Did they fix the drainage on the cars? But then we started rebuilding the houses. And I know why. And whatever you on this council knows why. And I'm not going to bring it up until my investigation's over with. And if it is true, what I found out so far, One of you's in a conflict of interest. And I'm not naming names until I am guaranteed it is true. And I hope everybody in this room realizes the difference of a resolution and a bill. I was in Vietnam when they passed the liquor law and passed the bill. So I go to the Capitol, I go down in the Capitol, I'm looking through all these bills. And this guy said, what are you looking for? I said, I'm looking for the bill where they passed the liquor law for schools and highways and streets. Oh, it wasn't a bill, it was a resolution. A bill of law. Where did the funds go? General funds. You check it out, it's true. They passed the casino laws. Schools, education, and highways and streets. Resolution. Where'd the money go? General funds. Disappeared. Now, we passed all these resolutions here. Let's make them bills, because a bill's a law. You have to live by it. And I'm gonna shut up. One other thing. We are your employees. And we can fire each other. And we do have term limits in America, and always have. VOTES. You're fired. And people are not smart enough to use it. And people are not smart enough to give a turn signal, to get on golf club drive down until we got to one lane. It's going to be more people injured, but Protestant people killed. Who's at fault? I've asked 100 people. They say, well, both people. No. The city of Diamond Head is at fault for creating a safety net. Common sense is going out to drain. There's more common sense. Common sense would have been able to warn people about these lanes. I left Love's drugstore the other night, turning on golf club. If I had not been a citizen, if I would have been a guest, a guy totally dressed in black, walking in this legal walking path. If I'd have been a guest that didn't know it wasn't supposed to be the right lane, and he would have got killed, who would have been at fault? Me for hitting him for walking? No. And you know they'll stand here before and look at each other and tell you, I don't mind telling people, straight to their face, when something doesn't make sense. It'll eventually make sense, I'm sure. But until then, if someone gets killed, who's at fault? You people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Jeff Jasby?
Thank you, Mayor DeBrio and everyone. I'm here on number 12 for the setbacks for a pool enclosure.
Mhm.
And it says on here 10 feet from the property. It's really 16 feet in one section, and I believe it goes down to about 13 feet and then shoots back in. But I know the rear setback is 20 feet, but for a pool, I guess you could be at 10. And then they poured some concrete. Whoever the pool guy that pulled the permit, and then the screen guy went in to get the permit, and I guess that's the reason why they're here.
So the variance requested for the pool is less than 10?
No, it's more than, the lot's not square, so it's 16 feet where the pool enclosure is gonna start, and it goes down to about 13 feet. and it
Oh,
shoots
okay.
back.
Okay. So it's like 7 to 4.
No, the other way. It's greater than.
It's greater than 10
It's
feet?
not.
Okay, all right, I get it now. Okay.
Okay, thank
Very
you.
clear, thank you. And Miss Susan?
Last summer,
Miss Susan, could you bring that mic down so that we can hear you? Thank you so much.
Is this better?
Oh, that's much better.
I'm requesting a 5-foot variance from the property line to where I'm building a shed. I thought that I was in compliance. It turns out that the people that I hired to didn't do a lot of things that they should have. I didn't realize that they were making mistakes because I'm not in construction and I was just trying to build an art shed out there. At any rate, they did a number of things that weren't correct. One of them is that that they said the universal code was 5 feet from the fence. But I realize that now that Diamond Head is 10 feet, so the structure is 5 feet. There were a number of things that went wrong, but I'm asking for the variance so that I can complete the building. I've invested quite a lot of money in it already, and it's sitting out there. It's a real eyesore in the neighborhood at the moment because I haven't been able to do anything with it since October. I've spoken to all my neighbors, and as long as there were some issues, the folks that live at Diamond Head and Epona, they thought it was a little tall. I'm willing to make it shorter, but that wasn't the issue for the variance. It was the 5 feet that was from their fence to the back of the house. I've made a change. We'll put in a French drain and gutters so that no water will go into their yard. And I'm willing to make the building shorter. I didn't want it to be as tall as it turned out to be. But I'd like to be able to finish it. I've got, my grandson and I got a bunch of stained glass windows that we were going to put in. It was just going to be an art shed that I was going to share with my neighbors so that we'd have a place to do crafts and projects. I'm willing to do whatever I need to do to get in compliance. I just would like to save my original investment for whatever I can, and hope that I can get the variance. There won't be any water leaking into my neighbor's yard because we're going to do a French drain and then put it out to the front of my yard. It's a separate, I purchased a separate lot next to my house, and that's where the structure is. It's not in my main yard. It's in the one that I purchased next to it.
Okay, Ms. Susan, are you going to be here when it comes time for your item on the agenda? Because we may have questions when it comes up.
I should be, yes.
Okay.
I have to pick someone up at the airport at 20 of 10, so if it's before that, I will certainly be here.
I hope we're done before 20 of 10.
Me too.
If we're not, we're in trouble. And just for y'all, that is item number 13 on
13
action agenda. I just
okay.
wanted to make sure you all were clear which one she was addressing.
Thank you, Ms. Susan.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, could I get a motion to approve the January 7th, 2024 regular meeting minutes?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. All in favor? Aye. Resolution 2024-027, motion to adopt Resolution 2024-003, authorizing a supplemental grant application to GRPC for federal surface transportation project funds through the Transportation Alternative Project, TAP, for the additional funding in the amount of $424,599.60, and for other related purposes, including additional match funding commitment in the amount of $84,919.92 for the East Aloha Improvements Phase 2 project. Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilwoman Lisi. Any discussion, Councilman Cumberland?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Lisi?
No, ma'am.
Councilman Marr? Councilman Finley?
No, ma'am.
City Clerk?
Finley,
Yes.
Lisi.
Yes.
Cumberland,
Yes.
Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Resolution 2024-030, motion to adopt Resolution 2024-004 for the reappointment of Michael Bennett to serve as Planning and Zoning Commissioner. Could I get a motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. Any discussion, Councilman Finley?
None.
Councilman Cumberland?
Nope.
Councilman Marr?
Go for it.
Councilwoman Lisi?
No.
And my one question, this is Councilman Finley's appointment?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have. City Clerk?
Finley,
Yes.
Lisi.
Yes.
Cumberland,
Yes.
Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Resolution 2024-038, motion to adopt Resolution 2024-005, thereby authorizing the submittal of a watershed conservation funding in the amount of $43,000, federal share $33,000, and local share $10,000 for drainage system restoration at the Lily Pond, committing matching funds and for other related purposes. Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second, Councilwoman Lisi. Councilman Finley? Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Councilwoman Lisi?
No.
Councilman Moore?
Is this money also going towards resodding around Lily Pond and?
No, sir, this is gonna be adding riprap on the, the drainage out, of Lily Pond. It was a much larger project is what we applied for. Unfortunately, this was all we, were able to, get awarded to us last year. And then, because of the federal, fiscal year ending, we have to reauthorize this, grant.
Okay, Councilman Cumberland?
No, ma'am.
All right. City Clerk?
Finley,
Yes.
Lacy.
Yes.
Cumberland,
Yes.
Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. I'm going to make a motion to move from the consent agenda 2024-028 to the action agenda. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor?
Aye.
Could I get a motion to approve consent agenda items 8 through 10?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. All in favor?
Aye.
So we've moved item 7 to the action agenda, and I'm going to start with that. Could I get a motion to approve, and I'm going to move on this and edit it.
I don't think we can amend their contract. We'd have to ask them to send us a new one.
Just vote it, no? Or
just
can we
remove it, or
remove
just,
it? Okay,
Table it.
we'll table it. I'm going to move to table 2024-028. Could I get a motion to second that?
Second.
Second made by Councilwoman Lisi. All in favor?
Aye.
So we tabled this motion until we can see if we can get the geese wording off of it. So the next agenda, you should see it on there, and we should have an answer, correct, City Manager? Okay. I'm going to move for discussion under Action Agenda 2024-026 to discuss methods to increase residents' engagement and methods to improve getting information out to residents. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. So, and I've thought about this long and hard because I know we need to get information out and do the best we can. First, we need to identify what information we are lacking in getting to residents. Meetings are difficult for many residents to attend. Everyone's schedules are overflowing between work, taking children to and from practice, events, and just day-to-day obligations. Depending upon what chapter you're in your life determines your schedule and best method of communication. One method of communication does not work for all of our residents. Live streaming has proven to be an excellent source to allow residents to view the council meetings at a time that is convenient to their schedule. Many may not be utilizing this service, but it is there in the event they want to watch the council meeting. We were one of the first cities on the Gulf Coast to do live streaming, and now it is common in many cities. Despite being the leaders in live streaming, there is a great deal of information not discussed at the council meetings that needs to be reached to our residents. Is it project information? Is it updating ordinances? Is it zoning changes? How to report a drainage problem or how to report your street light out? When does the bulky waste get picked up? Hold on one second, I lost where I was. Okay, when does the bulky waste get picked up, or why are the trees being removed from the interstate? How much is too much information, and what information do the residents want to know? I personally do not believe that we could ever send out too much information. I have said over and over again, the more we all know, the better Diamond Head will be. We are one of the smartest cities in the state, and with that comes residents that are engaged and want information. I feel our collective goal as a city is to get more information out to our residents and better keep them informed and be more transparent. So how do we get the information out? As previously discussed, depending upon the resident, the method will vary. We must use mixed methods of communication to achieve our goal. The city's website is an excellent source and is filled with information. Unfortunately, many residents do not use the website. Social media has become the source for information, whether it's factual information or not. This is where society goes, and sometimes as the first source. Should we consider posting links from the city's website to the city's Facebook page to get residents engaged in using the website? Do residents want text messages about important meetings or upcoming events? Do we need to e-blast more information out more frequently? What method do we feel will reach the most residents? What can we do to improve receiving residents' input? Communication is a two-way street. How do we get input from our residents? Again, methods will vary. What do we do with the input once it is received, and how do we convey to the residents how that information will be utilized? Will residents comment on a public forum, or do residents prefer to submit their information privately? For example, it was recently brought to my attention that some residents do not speak at council meetings because they do not want to say their address on live stream. Stopping this one action could change how residents feel about addressing the council. How do we get these improvements that we know and that are real concerns from our residents? How do we create a feedback loop? No one sitting here tonight can answer these questions. Without asking the residents' input on the methods on how they would like to receive information, we will continue to assume, and we know what it means to assume. We may consider authorizing the city manager to create an online survey, a paper survey for residents that aren't online, text message survey, or even outsource a survey to enable another set of eyes to assist with residents' input. Our goal as a city is to get more information out to our residents to better keep them informed and to be more transparent. Our problem is the method to receive and disperse information. And that's my thoughts on this topic.
I do agree that we need to get better communication out, but I also think that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, and that there's never going to be anything that's going to get even 50% of the people informed and involved. We'll be lucky if we could shoot for a quarter of the people that would be involved. But I do think we should try very much many different methods. I think John's already looking into text messaging to people as a broadcast. I think in addition to that, the email blast. I think what you said, the website has a wealth of information, and we need to just send out reminders by text or by email blast. Here's the website link. Go to it to find out what's happening. Because instead of trying to write everything down in a text message or in an email blast, you want to say, here's where you can go. Maybe, and this is just a maybe, because it has so many different pages, you can say, hey, you want to go and put a comment for the zoning? Go here and have the link, not to the front page of the website, but straight to the comment place on it. I also think we need to have 3 electric signs so that it can have a digital display at the front entrance, the back entrance, and the one that we already have here at this circle. And this way we can, every day and every week, all the cars passing by can see how to go sign up for text messages, how to sign up for email blasts, how to get to our website, what's happening that week with either planning and zoning or with the council. So those are just my thoughts on it.
All right, Councilman Finley?
Yes, yep. text message, everyone, whether they use email or not, and there are a large group of our residents who do not, but there is not a single resident, maybe 3, that do not have a cell phone. Text message will reach the masses and they can delete it. I just feel like that's the most cost-effective way they can put up, I don't know how it works, the links to whatever. The 3 signs, I'm absolutely for that. It is a cost and it is upkeep, but why have one at the front and people that don't come through the front never see it? I see that we have a council meeting every night, it seems like. But I agree, we definitely need to do a better job, but I personally think the text message is the way to do it.
Thank you, Councilman Finley.
Can I
Councilwoman
interject
Lacey?
real quick before you, sorry. I have got in touch with our Constant Contact, which does our email e-blast, and they do have text messaging as an option as well. They're working on it. It takes possibly up to 2 months for them to get everything put together. But unfortunately for that, the resident or the individual has to sign up for it. We
Has to approve it,
cannot
yes.
put their information in and add them to it. So they'll have to, everyone will have to go back through that process. And we have to have a privacy policy and our text messaging policy on our website for them to see. So we're working on, or these guys are working on those 2 policies to have that on our website. And then Constant Contact's trying to get it all set up for us.
I still agree we won't get more than 25% that will agree to it. But we'll,
Unfortunately, but
again, the horse and water thing.
that's true.
I would wish everybody would get involved, every single one, but.
Councilwoman Lacey?
Thank you. Okay, I agree. The website is a great resource. The more we can direct people to information that's there, the better. But often it's outdated. So I don't know what we can do internally to.
We work on it as best we can. If we're informed that something's out of date, we try to get it updated and corrected as quickly as possible.
So maybe, think about ways we can make sure that that
Certainly.
stays current. That would be helpful because, our information's only as good as it is current. Okay, and then I went to a session at the MML meeting last summer about communicating, and I would suggest if you want to maybe reach out to some other cities and find out what they're doing. I forget her title, and I have her card, I think, somewhere, but somebody from Hattiesburg hosted the session, and it was great. And all she did was talk about how they communicated with their residents, and they seemed like they had some great things. So maybe we don't have to completely reinvent the wheel. And I agree that a feedback loop is very important. We need to definitely, facilitate that because, if we can't, like she said, it's a two-way street, and if we can't, get the information from both directions, it's not going to work. So anyway, I would just encourage you to, if you want to talk to other cities, and I do have that person's info from Hattiesburg if you want to start there. She gave a great presentation.
Certainly, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Cumberland?
Yeah, I agree with the text messages.
Excuse me, I agree with the text messages. We use those at the water department, and a lot of people really liked it, and the ones that didn't let you know pretty quickly. And Pat, remember that?
Yeah.
Pat, the other day in the Planning and Zoning Commission, you contacted a lot of people in a lot of different ways, did you not? Do you mind telling us what all you did? I didn't mean you had to walk up here.
Well, nobody can hear at home if I don't.
You're right.
See, we're trying to communicate. I pointed out at the beginning of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting all the various ways that we used to communicate our planning and zoning agenda and the meeting itself. First of all, we had it on the website. We had the agenda and the agenda package on the website so people could see what was being discussed at that point in time. And that's what we do with the council meeting also. By law, or by our ordinance, I'm to advertise certain things in the Seacoast Echo, which is our newspaper of record, 15 days prior to the meeting. So we've advertised that way. We also used, Derek, help me with this because I'm doing it off the cuff here. We did, website. What else?
Facebook, wasn't it?
What?
Facebook, wasn't it?
I don't do Facebook, so.
I thought you said you'd put it on Facebook.
I know we put it on the message boards.
Mm.
We also sent out an e-blast about the meeting itself on the message boards and e-blast. And yes, I believe we did put it on Facebook, correct, John?
Probably.
Ashley put that on
Ashley put it
Facebook, yes, okay. Yes, so we did put it on Facebook at the meeting. Also included in those, where we could, included the links that you could go to get on the website to get this information. And when I publish in the Seacoast Echo, and also, and I forgot, we mailed to people in a variance within 300 feet
Yeah.
of the residence that is where the variance is requested. In that public notice in the Seacoast Echo and also in the notice to adjoining neighbors, include in there that it's available for live streaming on the city's website, Diamond Head YouTube channel, not the website, Diamond Head YouTube channel. And that copies of all of this, the agenda, the variance request, all of that is available for viewing at City Hall. And include my name, telephone number, and email address.
Oh.
So I felt that was a very proactive way of addressing some of our residents' concerns. And I think, unless y'all give me another channel, I think I've exhausted them all.
Yeah, I think you did too. So, about how many people get that notice on the e-blast?
I can't
Isn't it
answer
like
that question.
2,000, isn't that what you said? No, it's okay.
Yeah. I'm on there too.
Okay. And we get about 100 to 300 views on YouTube per meeting. So,
Well, that's the same as e-blast. Contact is e-blast?
So it'll be the same process.
All right. Okay.
thank you, Pat.
Thank y'all.
And just, I did look, I do not see where it's on our Facebook page, so I don't know that we have actually utilized that as a method. So that can become one if we wish.
How many
Is there-
people vote? Sorry. How many people can average vote for? I know Gerard knows how many people voted for him, but how many people voted? Yeah, in the election.
I know both the time I lost and the time I won.
Generally about 2,200 to 2,400.
The one that he won, general ballot 2,400 on average.
Yes.
Okay.
That's about 20%.
Yeah.
That's
And
not.
it's high for the state,
It's
believe
very
it or
high.
not.
It's very
I
high
mean,
for the state.
when you hear that number, you think, oh my gosh, that's very low. For the state, it's incredibly high. We are known as, we participate better than most.
Definitely do. Is there any way we could do a Go Monkey survey? I mean, those are not expensive, they're free, to see what is the best method residents want. Is it texting? Is it email? You know, working with the senior village, a lot of people don't email. You may think everybody emails, but we've got some that want text, they don't email. Can we just see what source, something really, you know, to reach out to the residents? And then we need to move seriously on this to look at different ways. But to first reach out to the residents. What source of, what way do you want to receive the information? Is it emails? Is it text? Is it e-blast? What is it? You could even do an other so that they could say, no, you know, put it in the Diamond Head News. That's all I need because I read that. You know, we don't know. Can we reach out and see what is the best way residents want to receive it? get their input, because we're all throwing out our input. We need to know what their best method is.
Here's the problem with that, is how do you get that survey to them? Because if you do email, then those are the people that are reading email, not the people
But
that
see, I
aren't.
had on here paper, so we could do where we had
So-
paper copies at City Hall. You can come pick up, submit in a box.
Or maybe for a survey, we do every door
Mhm.
direct at one time. It's expensive, but you send it out to every home in
Mhm.
Diamond Head.
That's
you
an
know.
option too. That's a very good option. Can we look at doing that, and maybe at the next meeting, you let us know what you're gonna do to be able to get their input? All right, thank you. All right, with that being concluded, we're gonna move on to action agenda item 2024-031, motion to concur with Planning Commission recommendation to allow, is that Word and Robin Johnson? Okay. A variance from zoning ordinance Article 4.19 to allow construction of a pool enclosure within 10 feet, and we know that varies, of the rear property line. The property address is 7515 Turnberry Drive. The tax parcel number is 067N-1-35-002.000, and it is in an R1 zoning district. The rear yard setback is 20 feet. The variance requested for the pool enclosure is 10 feet. The case file number is 202300543. Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilwoman Lisi. Any discussion, Councilman Cumberland?
Yeah, this structure, if it were not attached to the house, it could stand alone, correct, and would not need a variance? Is that what you said? So-
Yes, it would not need a variance. Because it is attached to the house, it must meet it's required to meet the 20-foot setback. If it was just say a fence around the pool, let's just say it was a fence, then it's just a 10-foot setback. And it would already meet that because the pool is 10 foot, so.
And so, but the reason for attaching it to a house makes it more structurally sound?
Correct.
More aesthetically pleasing?
Correct. Keeps the bugs out, etc. There's no gap between the house and,
I got you. But it could stand alone, and they wouldn't be asking for this. So this is just to make it more structurally sound and more aesthetically pleasing, all right? To look better.
Correct.
Approve this. That's all I have.
Councilwoman Lisi?
So just to be clear, it's like the equivalent of a fence.
yes,
Okay.
except it's not 4 foot tall.
Right.
Councilman Finley?
Okay with that.
All right, Councilman Moore?
Has there been anybody that's had any objection to it from the neighbors?
I have not received anybody objecting to it, no. No, none whatsoever.
Okay, the only question I have, if it stood alone, it'd be considered an out structure, and it'd be too big. So it has to attach to the house to be able to fit. But I would not want a pool unless it was covered living in South Mississippi. That's just, and there's only so much room on our property, so, okay, I'm good with it.
Thank you.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution 2024-032, Susan Joyce has filed an application requesting a variance from the zoning ordinance Article 4.19 to allow construction of an accessory structure within 5 feet of the rear property line. The property address is 684 Pona Street. The tax parcel number is 131A-0-04-067.000 and is in a R2 zoning district. The rear yard setback is 10 feet. The variance requested for the accessory structure is 5 feet. The case file number is 2023-00565. The Planning Commission voted 3-3, resulting in no recommendation to the council. Could I get a motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
And so, Mayor, just for clarification purpose, because we didn't have a recommendation, is the motion to approve? And then
Yes.
you all will vote, but the motion will be to approve the
The
variance.
motion is to approve, and the motion's made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. Discussion, Councilman Cumberland?
Yeah, Pat, get your exercise tonight. Let's see. It's an accessory structure shed art building, and have we inspected any of the footings on this? It's on a slab, correct?
Yes, it sits on a slab.
And we have,
There have been no inspections done at all.
so the slab's been poured, no inspection of the footings or the,
That's correct. It has not been permitted.
it's not, okay.
It would be, it's like it's never been there, because if we don't have the variance, then we can't permit.
Have you done any investigation at all on the building, on the height of it, or?
From the drawings that were submitted to us, it says the building height is 15 feet, which meets the criteria.
It's
The-
15 feet?
15 feet.
Okay. And there's a second floor to this structure?
There,
A loft area?
yeah, there appears to be a loft area, correct.
What, Miss Joyce?
Correct.
She came
Yes.
in and she asked for permits. Did we do a stop work order on her before that happened, or what inspired her to come in and ask for permits? Do you know?
I cannot, my memory is not quite good on that. She came into the office and I believe she said that she had found that she needed a permit for this and she wanted to apply for the permit. And then we discussed that the setback was only 5 feet from the property line. So I instructed her at that point in time, the procedure would be to apply for a variance, and then once the variance was received, then we could go on with the structure itself and permit that, and then look at the drawings and make sure that they were correct.
So if the variance were granted, then we would then get into the permit process.
And the review of the plans to determine whether they meet the 155 mile an hour wind resistance, hurricane straps. Kind of hard to inspect the footings if the concrete's already poured.
So we'll never know if the footings meet code, or if the plumbing is, it's got a shower, full bath in it, right?
It appears that it has a sink and a toilet in it, and I believe there was a shower in there. Now that
4-foot shower?
Yes, correct.
And
So we don't have.
so we have no way of inspecting that. How would we inspect that?
You couldn't unless you dig the pipe.
Well, what would we do at that point?
Well, what would we do at that point?
Yeah,
I would assume that what we would do is, I'm not an inspector, but I'd assume what that we would do at that point in time is to dig up the pipe to make sure it has the proper slope.
But what about the footings? You dig that?
You can
Well-
dig around the footings and gauge the depth on that, yes.
And what if the structure that's already been built, if none of that met code, would it have to be torn down?
It would have to be torn down, that's correct.
So there is a chance that this building may have to be torn down anyway if the variance was granted.
If it does not meet code, yes.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Who seconded the motion?
I did.
Okay.
Did we do did we poll the residents around the 300 feet as
We actually sent it 400 feet.
400?
And I've gotten 3 responses back. 2 of the responses came written on the bottom of the notice that I sent out that said they were opposed. And then the third response was a resident that called in and said they were opposed. And all 3 were anonymous.
3 opposed. No.
3 opposed.
And I'm assuming, of course, they're anonymous. Okay.
Now, Ms. Joyce did have some residents that I believe were with her tonight that came up at the Planning Commission meeting and voiced their support of her granting the variance.
there is, there's plumbing there. I'm assuming it's on city. Okay. Thanks, sir.
Councilman Moore?
I just have to say, I did receive a phone call from a person who wants to remain anonymous, but he did tell me that he was opposed.
Okay.
Councilwoman Lacey?
Thank you. So it's on its own lot? I'm confused. Is it 2 lots and this is on its own lot?
Not that I'm aware of. From what I saw, it is,
Yes.
it is?
Is it a combined lot? It's a combined lot,
Is it
right?
consolidated?
Yeah, well, I don't think that it is because it's not in her name. You said the lot was not in your name, is correct? Oh, okay. But you combine the 2 lots. So it's 1 lot if it's combined.
Okay, and what's the percentage of completion right now? Do you know? What would you estimate? Is it halfway finished? Is it framing? Okay. Okay.
Miss Susan, would you mind coming up here so we can hear you? Thank you.
Don't go far, Pat. Yeah, just sit right there. It'll be easier for you.
By the microphone.
So it just has a partial roof right now?
It has a tarp on the
A
roof
tarp.
right now.
Okay. Okay, so will it have a full bath or just a sink?
It'll have a sink and a toilet, just because
No,
most of the people that are a little old, so we don't want to have to run back into the house.
Okay.
And a sink, the idea was to have a utility sink for cleaning up from projects that we were gonna do.
Okay, and then the loft, what, is that for storage
The
or?
loft was for storage, but the people that were doing it made it taller than I ever intended for it to be, so I'm certainly willing to make it, shorter to, the neighbors directly by me on the end of Diamond Head East expressed some concern about the height and the drainage. I talked to them again today, and they said provided those things were done, they didn't have an objection. They were not the people that sent in the anonymous,
Okay. Pat, question for you. Since you had a tie at P and Z, did your office have a recommendation?
Yes, I did.
What was
The
it?
staff recommendation was to deny it.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, Pat, while you're standing there,
Yes, ma'am.
so sheds are generally 5 foot from the property line, because you and I had a discussion about a shed, and it was 5 foot off the property line and
Side yard.
side yard.
Side yard. It's 10 from the rear, 10 from the residence.
Okay, so it's 5 from the side,
Correct.
which I thought was close, 5 from the side. And that's R1 and R2?
Yes,
Both are, so it's
Yes.
10 rear, 5 on the side.
correct.
So hers is 5 from the rear, which is close to where it looks on the side. So I know how 5 looks from the side because I've seen that visibly. Did you have construction plans that had the footing details and the roof and everything on the plans?
I have some photos that were sent to me. I don't know if it shows, I know that they poured a slab and there were footers put around it, but I don't know if they show up in the
And the drawings?
in the drawings.
Okay. And I know you had people that spoke in favor. I was at the Planning and Zoning Commission. Can you raise your hands if you were in favor of the project? So we got 3, 4, okay, 4, you've got 4 residents in favor. And I'm assuming these are neighbors?
Yes.
And so what is the purpose of, why did you want to build this shed on your property?
I've done a lot, fused glass in the past, and I can't do that in my house. And so I wanted to set up an art studio that we could use for that and for other things, and just kind of a place to hang out, really.
So it's for your neighbors and you to do
Yes.
artwork. And so it's really like an artwork studio for
Yes.
your neighbors and you to, and it's gonna be done with all the facade and everything according to the building codes. Once you
Absolutely.
get the variance, then it's gonna be done according to all the building codes.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I think it's very kind that you're doing that for the neighborhood.
Can-
It's a big expense,
Particularly if I have to tear it down.
especially if you had to build it twice, that would be.
Yes.
Can I ask one more question?
Okay,
Can-
well,
can-
before we just start, we'll start back over. So, Councilman Cumberland?
Derek, Ms. Joyce said she talked to her neighbors today, and what, you said they were okay with this?
They said that their objection was that they were worried that it was too tall. We talked about that. And I assured them again, as we had talked before, about the French drain, and they were okay with that. They were not one of the people that objected.
Okay. I did have some calls myself objecting to this, and I did see it, and you're right about it being an eyesore. It's definitely not a nice-looking building.
It's an eyesore now. It's horrible looking. It won't, if I'm allowed to finish it, it won't look like that. I have a bunch of stained glass windows we're gonna put on the bottom floor, and there are not gonna be windows in the loft. That's not part of the plan, so I know that one of the people that objected is because of looking into his yard, and that's not gonna be an issue.
What I was going to ask Derek is, how much, this is nothing personal against you, Ms. Joyce, but I feel like we have to take things from a legal standpoint, and we're hearing secondhand from what the neighbors have said. Would that be considered hearsay? Are we allowed to?
You all can kind of give as much weight to the evidence that's before you and how it's come to you as you feel is that you want to give credibility to it. I mean, you've got, there were some residents that came to the meeting last time and spoke in favor of it. There were some residents that anonymously, for whatever reason, but they did want to voice their objection to it. And it really is, it's something you all can use and weigh it however you want to weigh it.
Well, I can understand why people would want to be anonymous. Ms. Joyce is a very liked person in the neighborhood. I know that. And people don't want to make a rift, but my concern is what happens if this structure was not built properly. And what happens 5 years from now if it's infested with termites because it wasn't treated properly, or the footings start cracking and the building starts falling down. And then what?
Yeah, and I think
who's concerned? I mean, who's responsible for it at that point?
Yeah, and I think Mr. Rich kind of addressed that, and the key here is, even if you all grant a variance and you determine, hey, we want it to only be a certain height or whatever, it's still going to have to go through that inspection process, and as Mr. Pat said, it may not. I mean, we dig out the footings. If there's no footings there, I mean, it's not going to get approved as a accessory structure in the city. So there still is a chance after today that after you guys grant this variance, that the building officials, when they begin their inspection process, say it's got to come down. So, but those are kind of two separate issues that we're dealing with here.
All right, Councilman Finley, did you second?
I did, yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What is the square footage?
It's going to be, I don't know the square footage, I can tell you the dimensions, I believe are 12 by 17.
Okay, so it's something. Pat, there you go. In your opinion, 12 by 17, all right, my question is, could the building be moved and it's the entire thing? Or could the rear wall be moved forward away from the property?
I'm not in, I don't do construction, so I can't say.
Pat, that's what I was asking you then.
Okay, it's on a slab.
Yeah.
And it's covering up the slab. So the only way that you could do that was take and move the slab.
Oh, no, I see it in New Orleans all the time. I'm just asking, could it be done?
Yes.
12 by 17, it's not that large. It wouldn't be that big of a.
20 by 11. 20 by 12, really, almost.
Okay. All right. That's all for me.
All right, Councilman Marr?
Yeah, you said that this was built on your extra lot or your second lot?
Yes.
Why did you build it all the way towards the end and not further up in the lot in the first place?
I built it at the back because the front part is wooded and I have a lot of critters that live there.
Okay.
And I didn't want to disrupt the birds and the turtles and the other.
Okay.
All right, Councilwoman Lisi?
No more questions.
Okay, the question, I guess my comment on it is, knowing that the building department, once you pull the permit, is going to research, verify, and make sure that it meets the building codes, because eventually, you're gonna pull a permit, then you gotta start with inspections, and you're going in reverse. So if they see anything, they're gonna bring it to your attention, you know, so there's
I'm aware
still a
of that.
possibility,
Of tearing it down, I understand.
but at least you'd stand a chance if we approved it, to
Yes.
give you a chance for the residents. And I see you have the whole neighborhood here to enjoy the art studio. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we've got a motion on the table to approve. All in favor?
We do a roll
Aye.
call? Do you mind?
Okay, I don't mind. City clerk?
Finley,
No.
Lisi,
No.
Cumberland,
No.
Marr,
No.
Mayor.
I'm going to be a yes. All right, so the motion fails. Sorry, Miss Susan. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next motion. So, well, we got Pat sitting here, and then we'll go back to the other motion. Motion to concur with the Planning Commission recommendation to deny Susan Mirth request for a variance from the zoning ordinance to allow construction of a carport within 7 feet of the side yard property line. The property address is 10799 Lion-O Way. The tax parcel number is 067G-1-25-285.000 and is in a MH zoning district. The side yard setback is 10 feet. The variance requested for the carport is 3 feet. The case file number is 2023-00586. Could I get a motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. Let's start with Councilman Cumberland.
And this is if we vote yes, this is a yes to deny.
That is correct.
That's all I have.
This one was spelled out in the motion because there actually was a recommendation, so that was the difference between the two. But yes, this is a motion to deny.
Okay, so we're open for discussion, and I think, Pat, you probably need to come forward. So Councilman Cumberland, discussion?
That was all I had. Just
Oh,
that
okay.
question.
Councilman Marr?
Yeah, I listened in on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the fault of this was on the mobile home provider. They dropped it in the wrong spot. They didn't care to check and see anything about where it should go. It normally would be placed in the center of the lot, and this mobile home was placed towards the one edge, is that correct?
That is close to being correct. The site plan said it was going to be closer to one lot line than it was the other to accommodate the carport and the porch that she wanted. And I believe she wanted a little screened-in area there too. It was marked out on the site. I saw it myself where the mobile home was to be, manufactured home, excuse me, was to be. And I can't tell you for what reason whoever did the installation of it decided they didn't like that. And it was probably due to the fact that it was easier to put it where they put it, and they put it in, and that's what has caused all this.
This, to me, seems like it should go back to the mobile home deliverer and say that this is your fault and you need to take care of this and move it, rather than to be asking for a variance.
And I agree with you 100%. But the reason we went ahead with the variance was that that's going to be a legal process that will take forever and a day to resolve, because the mobile home dealer has not responded to any of the calls made to them. So it was of my opinion that it would be, we could expedite it with the least amount of cost and get her into her mobile home by going with the variance route.
But you guys, oh, that wasn't you, that was the planning and zoning that made
Right.
the motion to deny.
Right.
Okay,
The staff recommendation was to approve
got it.
because it was not the fault of the owner.
Do we not then make the people delivering it not care anymore for any other future ones if we give this without them getting into a lawsuit to make it right the first time?
The lawsuit would be handled by the
The owner. I understand.
Okay.
I'm just saying by approving it, it lets them off the hook, and so what would keep them from keep doing it?
I understand that and can appreciate that, but this is a fact where
I'd rather see a variance saying they don't have to have a carport than a variance saying that we'd let the mobile home people off the hook.
Well, you as a council can determine what you approve and what you don't approve. So if you would rather approve that, you could do that.
Okay, Councilman Finley?
Well, I have a little bit of experience with this one. My neighbor back in the day had this done, had actually had the carport built, and it was too close to the property line. And their neighbor actually gave them 3 feet of their property, which in the grand scheme of things wouldn't make that much difference. I think that would be an avenue, probably be much quicker than, the years of litigation with the mobile home thing. I don't know if this person's neighbors are as nice as I was, but anyway.
I can't speak to that.
Councilwoman Lisi?
So, so am I to understand that if the lot is a rectangle, then that side is obviously too narrow, the other side is much larger?
Yes.
Okay, obviously she probably liked the carport near the front door.
Yes.
Is it possible to put it on the other side and
There-
have an entrance through the back door?
There is no door.
There's not a back door?
No. Well, there's a door on the side. There's a door on the front, and where the carport is on the side, and that's where she would be going in.
But there's no, I guess what I'm saying is
There's not a door
there's
on the
not
other side.
There's not another solution or another place that the carport could go on the lot that would fit?
Only if
for
it
right
was
here.
put on the other side, but then there would be no door for it to go to.
Okay, that was my question. Thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome.
Okay, so it was the recommendation of the planning,
Of the
And-
staff.
of the staff, the
Yes.
planning staff,
Okay.
to approve
Yes, ma'am.
over the 3 feet. And I guess I have sat up here for several years, and I've seen this happen like 3 times on trailers. And I think the problem is the information that we give them at the very beginning for their permit is confusing, because I have read it and I have been confused. And it doesn't clearly spell out all the steps. So it doesn't clearly spell out you need this, this, and this. And we didn't do inspections all the way through this, because we would have saw that as soon as the trailer was built, the stairs were in. Before we even did the inspection on the tie down, the stairs were in and the carport was being built. And I can see if you own the trailer, you called and told them to deliver it. Immediately it was delivered, and they called and said, we delivered it, it's set up, you know, here it is. You would immediately call your contractor and say, hey, it's there. Go ahead and get my stairs and my... Did she even go out and look herself? I mean, I see how that could easily happen, thinking that the trailer company should have done what they were told to do and how it was staked out. Do you know that, did she visit the site before she started with the steps and the carport?
I do not believe so, because she was having major surgery, so she
Oh,
was
wow.
she was trying to get this
Okay.
all lined up. So we can only go and inspect when we're called by the mobile home folks to go and inspect. Now, I can state with certainty that where it was to sit on the lot was correct. It was flagged. When they installed it, they ignored it, in fact, moved the flags.
No.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we're called to do the inspection. Well, they've already got the tie downs done. They've already got the mechanical done. They've already got the plumbing done. They've got the electric done. And in her rush to get in there, as you stated, as soon as they notified her that the manufactured home was there, she'd called her contractor to come in and put the carport and the porch on there. And when they did call us to go out there and do the inspections, that's when our inspectors noticed that it was close to the property line. I went out and confirmed that it was 3 feet too close.
Okay, so she hasn't been issued her CO, which is her certificate of occupancy, so
Correct.
she can move in. She can't occupy it, she doesn't have permanent power, she's at a complete standstill over the 3 feet,
Correct.
and possible litigation if she has to get it moved.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I need to have. Okay, so the motion on the table is to deny the request variance. So a yes would be to deny, and a no would be not to deny. So, City Clerk,
Finley,
No.
Lisi,
No.
Cumberland,
No.
Mar,
No.
Mayor.
no.
All
So
right.
we're gonna, I'll
You got it.
move, I am going
So-
to make a motion to approve the variance request. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. City Clerk.
Okay, Finley,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
Cumberland,
Yes.
Mar,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Now back to action agenda.
Very good, y'all. That was good.
Action agenda item 2024-034, motion to direct city manager to provide a presentation regarding new projects prior to the commencement at the city council meeting, immediately following the notification of the affected residents, at which time meeting rules are suspended to allow for questions and answer sessions with meeting attendees, the parameters of which are to be set forth by the council prior to the presentation of the kind. Motion?
Moved.
Is this for discussion or action?
I'd like it to be for action.
Second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. Discussion, Councilwoman Lisi.
Thank you. So this is kind of following along with what happened at the last meeting. So I'm all for transparency and presentations and all of that. I think what we approved last time was a presentation at 60% completion, right? And since then, you and I kind of talked at length, and if we want residents' input, to let them know what's going on, we thought it might be nice to let them know at the outset. Because if people don't hear anything until 60%, we're looking at change orders, or, it might be too late if there's any input. So John, in the course of discussing this with him, he said, we've got a problem because people can come to the meeting and make comments, but there's no ability to have a Q&A between the council and the residents. And so this is an attempt to kind of address that, and we can work out the details and let us figure out a way to do that effectively. But it would be nice if we had a presentation before projects got started, so people knew at the outset exactly what's going to be happening, and the ability to have some Q&A during a council meeting, and that's all it is. It's pretty simple.
All right, who's second? Councilman Cumberland, discussion?
I like this. I would like to encourage the city manager to involve the engineers more than we have in the past, if possible. I can remember seeing engineers on a regular basis, and I'm not talking about Ben. Everybody besides Ben. But on a regular basis at the water department, it was very common to see more engineering there. Bruce, we haven't seen Bruce once with this paving project. So, if we could encourage these guys to be here, I don't know if it needs to be in their contract in the beginning.
It's kind of hard.
Nice.
If I can, it's kind
Absolutely.
of hard for them because everybody's having the meeting
On Tuesday.
on Tuesday at 6:00, so they
makes
can't be
sense.
everywhere, and so they just try to choose where they're most needed, and what projects are coming up on that.
Well, and that's at your discretion. It was just.
I can
just a
certainly ask them to
suggestion.
be here.
All right, Councilman Marr?
Yeah, I just want to know some of the details of how this works. Prior to the commencement at the city council meeting, does that mean we're going to have the presentation and then have discussion and then start the council meeting after that?
Please direct to the city manager. We're going to have to go back through the list. So
Oh,
that was the question.
Okay, I was actually asking
I know.
Anna for presenting it.
It's not my motion. I wouldn't have
Yeah,
figured I can't say how.
Okay,
was,
we'll go back through. So those are
Lacey
your
was asking
questions.
that.
How do you plan to make it work?
Like, do you plan on saying, okay, 6 o'clock on a Tuesday, the first half hour is going to be the presentation, then 6:30, the council meeting begins?
Okay, so those we'll go back through on the next pass. Is that all your comments?
Yep.
Okay. Councilman Finley?
No, nothing.
Okay, I have a few, because I did this for 40 years. I may not look that old, but I am. The conceptual design is the early process of a project, and that is the idea stage. So the conceptual is where you take a aerial or some map and you put the design over it. This is what we conceptually want. So it's very preliminary. It's going to change. When field data is picked up, it's going to change tremendously. So that's why we use the 60%. But I like the idea of getting the conceptual out before the project starts. That's a good thing. But I would like to see it done before we seek grant funding. So if we look at all the projects we do, conceptual drawings done, we take that drawing, we go out, we seek grants, and we get it done at the very beginning, before we seek grant funding. Because if you look at projects now in the conceptual stage, any of the Thailand projects, that money's already allocated to that project. So we're to the point. Any projects that pretty much all the projects we have are grant funded. So if we start at the beginning, before we even apply for the grants, at the very beginning with the conceptual, getting the residents' input, they may say, why are you doing that? So why are we even applying for a grant if they don't want it in their area? We need to back it way up to the beginning, to the renderings that are done to get the grants. That is the conceptual. So I'd like to see that change to that point. And then I would never vote to suspend the rules without being in the meeting. First of all, because you never know if you had this room completely filled, like we did for Jack's Drive. We had to do 3 minutes or we would have been here for 10 hours. You know, it had to be a time limit. But we did communicate back with the residents. So I wouldn't suspend the rules until we saw where we were at that specific point. I like the idea of the conceptual, but I like it being at the part before we go get the grant funding and have money allocated for the conceptual. That's my comment.
Okay, thank you. My turn
So
now?
we're going to start back over with
Okay.
Councilwoman Lisi.
Okay, thank you. All right, John, when do you notify residents? Because that's what you and I talked about.
Right. Well, the only project we did was the Hilo Street project, and we notified them, and as I said, too late because we had already awarded the contract out, and then we had a meeting. And that's what I talked about, is that having the discussion at a council meeting isn't quite the right time frame, because the residents don't have a chance to talk without, being limited to a certain amount, signing up before the meeting and so forth. So that's where I held a meeting with the residents prior to, and got their input and their discussion. Whether they liked it or not, then they came to the next council meeting to voice their opinions to you guys, and that seemed to work well. But I understood your point of that you would, or some of you would like to be there when these
And we
meetings are
can't.
being held and discussed. And of course you can't, and I get that as well. So that I assume is the reason why you put in the suspending the rules, so that the people,
Yes.
the residents, have an opportunity freely to be able to ask and go back and forth as
Right.
far as with
And-
their discussion.
And I think, the suspension of the rules doesn't need to be a one-size-fits-all. We're going to decide, okay, well, then everybody gets 10 minutes. And then, I think because like the condo meeting, the room was full. It might be like Hilo, where it's a handful of people. So I think, that would need to happen in the meeting, but determined by the council. And so I don't think that's a one-size-fits-all. And so I think, what we had talked about is, you send letters out to people affected by, now Hilo was a little bit late, but normally it wouldn't be. So would that be post-conceptual or pre-conceptual?
I have sent letters out to Kaliki Way as well as Bayou Drive to let those residents know that this project is coming, and if they want to be informed or stay informed, to send me an email, and that way I can respond to them and give them updates as that project moves along. Unfortunately, I got very little response back, which, as you talk about with email address or emailing and so forth, but just trying to reach out to those residents before that project went out.
Right. And so, Gerard, to answer kind of your question, my thought was, as soon as these people are notified that something's coming to your neighborhood, we're planning to do, Project X, at the next council meeting, we are going to have a presentation explaining it. So that's their notice that, come to this council meeting, and at that meeting, we can determine what would be appropriate to allow for some Q&A. Because for the residents who may not have caught what he said, we can't go to those meetings when he has them with residents, more than, 3 of us, or 2 of us right now, or it's a violation of an open meetings law. So that's why, it behooves us to do that at a council meeting, but we're not set up for it right now. So that was the purpose, just to loop people in at the beginning, let them know what's going on, give them the opportunity to ask questions, give us the ability to answer them, and, transparency and communication, all of that. And, I think it could be a good thing, and I'm not opposed to doing it again at 60%. I just think it needs to happen also at the beginning.
All right, Councilman Cumberland,
I don't have anything.
Councilman Marr.
All right, so I have a question for Derek then. If we have it on the same day as city council, but without the council being gavelled in, is that a violation of the open meeting rule?
You would, if you're,
If you announce it that we're doing this as a
you would still.
roundtable discussion, let's say, prior to the council meeting with all council members present.
You can call it a workshop at the beginning
mean,
of
it
the
would still
council
be an
meeting,
open
but you're
meeting
still,
then.
it's, you still gotta follow the rules, so anytime y'all are together, you gotta keep minutes, you gotta post an agenda, it has to be open to the public, you know, so you still are gonna have to, whatever you call it, however you do it, if you guys are gathering and discussing city business, you gotta do all those things. You gotta gavel in, you gotta call the roll, you gotta open to the public, you get it.
Okay.
So, but again, I mean, if you call it, you know, in the past, we've had budget workshops and things like that. I mean, you know, if that's, you could do that. You could call it a workshop. But it's
We've
still a
had-
meeting.
We've had where we met with engineers here for things out on the floor after the meeting.
I would hope the engineers would be doing the presentation. So Councilman Finley?
John, would you prefer to have a meeting with the residents before, as it has been, without the meeting, or seem like there'd be a lot more open discussion? If yes, say nothing. If no, say less. But if the residents have the questions and the engineers are here and the city manager's here, I really don't see why we need to be, or what would we add? You know,
Well, we can't even be here.
I don't want to be here. I mean, if they're just asking for information that we already know, then it would be a moot point for us to be here in the first place. So I think it would be a more open, just as me personally, I think the discussion, the way it was before, city manager and the engineers are here and they can just chit chat until they're blue in the face. That's my opinion.
And now it's back to me, because I hadn't had a chance, and I'm going to agree 100% with Councilman Finley, because speaking with the residents, I see they're going to talk more freely. They're going to tell you, John, exactly how they feel, more so than standing up here. But we have to make sure that you do that. At Conceptual, before we go get grant funding, get them in here, call them out, you know who they are, where they live, get the engineers in here, and it's all on you. So you have to be accountable to make sure that the residents are directly impacted are in here with you, and make it as open, serve coffee, get the engineers. I agree with Councilman Finley, and have it very, very friendly. And they will be very open. Okay. All right. So with that being said.
Wait, can we go through again?
Okay, Councilwoman Lisi.
Sorry. I just don't like how we can't, and not that I want to be part of the discussion and in the middle of it, but I mean, we're discouraged from even going to planning and zoning because of having, you know, I would like the ability to at least come and observe so that I know what people are thinking, and I know, you know, I'm happy for all that to go on, but I'd like to be able to go. And so that was why I think it would, you know.
I understand, and as far as experience goes, with the residents on Hilo, when we discussed that with them, they were at the very next council meeting.
Yeah,
They were
shy.
letting you know.
They didn't mind coming to the council meeting.
Exactly,
And
and that encouraged, or that.
And as I understand, the only forum that we can do that in,
Well,
where we're allowed to be there is a meeting, right?
Yeah, and
Unless it's
that's-
a workshop.
And so maybe it can be kind of a hybrid of what you're all suggesting, is that the residents still meet with the engineers and with John. And remember, in our form, and then at the next council meeting, when you guys are voting up and down, and it may not be at the next council meeting, because we're still kind of conceptual here, but when there is an item on the agenda addressing that, invite those residents here and say, look, now's your opportunity, because remember, in our form of government, the recommendations are coming from your professionals. You're coming from your city manager with consultation with the engineers. He's going to make those recommendations. You're still going to hear input from the council, or from the residents, as they want to. If their issues haven't been addressed with John already, or if if they disagree with his recommendation, or even if they agree with his recommendation, and they're going to come to you and present their side in their case to you, and say, and with John saying, "Here's my recommendation. Here's our problem. Here's my recommendation. Y'all go."
Which is what the motion says, right?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's,
Well, I'm
again,
saying,
he's,
you say, at the beginning,
Yeah.
we announce it,
Yeah.
he announces it, we're having it, I've let all of you know,
Yeah.
and we're gonna talk about it at the next council meeting, and there'll be the ability for Q and A. That's,
but he's still having, I think what Shane was suggesting is he's still having those initial meetings with the residents where they can come in and talk with, and we're not in an open meeting. They're talking directly with the engineers, there's back and forth. Then they're doing what you suggested, and that's where I've suggested it is kind of a compromise, a hybrid of, it does both of those things. It says, Shane, you know, Shane's point, we still are meeting with the residents, the engineers are encouraged to do that. You're not here, but then when we bring it to the council, we can call it a workshop, we can call it whatever we want. You don't even have to, you can just put it on there as an agenda item, and you're having the open debate here and following all those rules.
Okay, Councilman Cumberland,
Nope.
Councilman Marr, Councilman Finley.
No.
And I'm just going to conclude with, I like having the residents meet with the city engineer and the city manager in a relaxed format. And maybe in lieu of this motion, we could do like a monthly workshop and all new projects that you spoke with the residents. Let's just do it all at once in that monthly workshop with the conceptuals, have the engineers here and discuss those projects and have the residents do their input. Instead of one at a time, we could do it monthly. Or it may be every 3 months before we get a project. Just my thought. All right, city clerk.
We're doing a roll call on,
Yes.
okay. Finley,
No.
Lisi,
yes.
Cumberland,
Yes.
Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
No. Okay, is there any need for executive, oh, we got some more things. Excuse me, the money part. Motion to approve the docket of claims DKT 231422, DKT 231466 in the amount of $72,651.69.
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Lisi, all in favor?
Aye.
And the mayor's a nay, a no. Motion to approve payroll payables, PR claim 011084 in the amount of $30,306.66. PR claim 01085 in the amount of $30,368.76. PR claim 1086 in the amount of $2,717.26, and DR claims 2KT 231412, TKT 231421 in the amount of $49,899.09. Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second.
Second?
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve department reports. Motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second.
Second?
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor? Aye. And there's no public agenda comments. Any need for executive session? Could I get a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Lisi. All in favor? Aye.
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 You all have a wonderful night, and thank you very much.